Most people think they know Brazil, Rio's beaches, Carnival, maybe the Amazon rainforest. But what if I told you that behind the postcard images lies a completely different country? One that even most Brazilians haven't fully explored. Hidden deep in the interior are surreal landscapes that look like they belong on another planet. Secret luxury lodges accessible only by private plane indigenous communities guarding ancient traditions. An ecosystem so unique that scientists are still discovering new species every year. I've spent the last 3 weeks traveling through Brazil's most remote and exclusive destinations, and what I found changed everything I thought I knew about this country. This isn't the Brazil you see on Instagram. This is the Brazil that hides in plain sight. Let's go beyond the beaches. We're starting in a place most travelers have never heard of, the Pantanal. While everyone flocks to the Amazon, the Pantanal, the world's largest tropical wetland, remains largely unknown. And here's the thing, it has a higher concentration of wildlife than anywhere else in South America. The Pantanal spans 70,000 square miles across Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay. But the Brazilian side is where the magic happens. During the wet season, 80% of this land floods, creating an intricate network of waterways and islands. When the dry season arrives, the water recedes, concentrating wildlife around remaining water sources. That's when you see things that wildlife photographers dream about. I'm staying at Cayman Ecological Refuge, one of South America's most acclaimed wildlife lodges. Getting here required a 2-hour flight from Sao Paulo to Campo Grande, followed by a 3-hour drive on dirt roads. This remoteness is precisely the point. The lodge sits on a 130,000-acre private reserve, larger than many national parks. The accommodations blend seamlessly into the landscape. My bungalow has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a lake where caimans sun themselves on the banks. But comfort isn't sacrificed. There's air conditioning, a private plunge pool, and cuisine that rivals São Paulo's best restaurants. At dawn, we set out in open safari vehicles. Within 20 minutes, our guide spots a jaguar. Not a fleeting glimpse. This massive male walks parallel to our vehicle for nearly 10 minutes. Jaguars are notoriously elusive, yet the Pantanal has the highest density of these apex predators anywhere on Earth. Some lodges report jaguar sightings on 70% of their excursions during peak season. But jaguars are just the beginning. In a single day, we encountered giant anteaters, capybaras the size of small dogs, hyacinth macaws, the world's largest flying parrot, and hundreds of caiman as the sun sets. We take a boat safari. Giant otters play in the water. A jabiru stork, standing nearly 5 feet tall, stalks the shallows. The sheer abundance of wildlife is staggering. The Pantanal faces threats from agricultural expansion and climate change, but lodges like Cayman are proving that conservation can be economically viable. By creating high-value, low-impact tourism, they give local communities a reason to protect rather than develop this ecosystem. If you've ever been on safari in Africa, the Pantanal offers something remarkably similar. But in a place few people associate with wildlife, drop a comment below. Would you choose the Pantanal over the Amazon for a wildlife experience? From the wetlands, we're heading to the highlands. Chapada Diamantina is a vast national park in Bahia State, named after the diamond mines that once drew fortune seekers here. The diamonds are mostly gone, but what remains is even more valuable. Landscapes that defy description. The gateway is Lençóis, a colonial town that time forgot. The cobblestone streets and pastel-colored buildings feel frozen in the 19th century. But I'm not here for the town, I'm here for what surrounds it. Chapada Diamantina covers nearly 600 square miles of table mountains, caves, waterfalls, and canyons. The geology here is ancient. Some rock formations are over 1 billion years old. The result is a landscape that looks more like the American Southwest than tropical Brazil. The first trek takes us to Poço Encantado, the Enchanted Well. We descend into a massive cave system, and there it is. An underground lake so clear and blue it looks artificial between April and September. When the sun is at the right angle, light beams penetrate through an opening in the cave ceiling, illuminating the water in an ethereal glow. The visibility is so incredible you can see the bottom at 200 feet deep. And no, you can't swim in it. It's protected. The next day brings Cachoeira da Fumaça, Brazil's second highest waterfall. The catch? You hike to the top, not the bottom. Standing on the edge of a 1,300-foot cliff, watching water freefall and transform into mist before hitting the ground is surreal. The name literally means smoke waterfall, because the water evaporates into vapor on the way down. Unlike the Pantanal, Chapada Diamantina doesn't have traditional luxury lodges, but that's changing. I'm staying at Pousada Canto das Águas, a boutique property that perfectly balances rustic charm with modern comfort. Think handcrafted furniture, farm-to-table dining, and infinity pools overlooking valley views. The experience here is about simplicity and connection with nature, luxury through authenticity. This region is a playground for adventure travelers. Cave diving in crystal-clear cenotes, multi-day treks through untouched valleys, rock climbing on ancient quartzite formations, mountain biking through Table Mountains. The infrastructure is developing, but it's still raw enough to feel like a genuine discovery. The region's history as a diamond mining center left behind fascinating cultural remnants. Small villages populated by descendants of miners and enslaved Africans preserve traditions found nowhere else in Brazil. The cuisine blends African, indigenous, and Portuguese influences in unique ways. What surprised me most about Chapada Diamantina is how few international tourists make it here. Brazilians know about it, but it remains largely off the global radar that won't last forever. If you want to experience this before it changes, now is the time. Now we're heading north to something that looks physically impossible: Lençóis Maranhenses National Park. Picture this: pristine white sand dunes stretching for 600 square miles, dotted with thousands of crystal-clear freshwater lagoons. It looks like a desert, but here's what makes it extraordinary. It's not. Lençóis Maranhenses, which translates to bed sheets of Maranhão, receives about 50 inches of rain annually, far too much to be classified as a desert. During Brazil's rainy season from January to June, rainwater collects in the valleys between the dunes, creating temporary lagoons. The sand is so fine and white that it doesn't absorb heat, so even under the equatorial sun, the dunes are comfortable to walk on barefoot. Access requires commitment. I fly into São Luís, the capital of Maranhão State, then take a 4-hour drive to Barreirinhas, the main gateway town from there. The only way into the park is by 4x4 vehicle, which navigates through sandy tracks that barely qualify as roads. Standing atop a massive dune, the view is otherworldly. White sand extends to the horizon, interrupted by lagoons that range from turquoise to deep blue depending on depth and algae content. Some lagoons are shallow enough to wade through, others are deep enough to swim laps. We spend hours exploring. The dunes are constantly shifting. Wind can move them up to 160 feet per year, so the landscape never looks the same. Twice local guides are essential. Without them, getting lost in this maze of identical-looking dunes is not just possible but likely. The lagoons are warm, fresh, and incredibly clear. Fish somehow appear in these temporary pools. Scientists believe eggs are carried in by birds, or arrive during floods that occasionally connect the lagoons to rivers. Swimming in Lagoa Azul, surrounded by nothing but white sand under an impossibly blue sky, ranks among the most unique experiences I've had anywhere in the world. Luxury options are limited, but growing. I'm at Porto Preguiças Resort, located along the Preguiças River. The property offers boat excursions, which provide a completely different perspective of the region. We navigate through mangroves, spot howler monkeys, and visit At-Ins, a small fishing village at the edge of the park where sand dunes meet the Atlantic Ocean. The best time to visit is between May and September when the lagoons are full, but the rains have stopped. Come too late in the dry season, and the lagoons shrink or disappear entirely. Come during the rainy season, and access becomes difficult. Lençóis Maranhenses represents a delicate balance. Tourism brings much-needed income to one of Brazil's poorest states, but increased visitation threatens the fragile ecosystem. The park has strict regulations: no camping, no fires, no leaving any trace. Private tour operators are beginning to offer helicopter tours, which minimize environmental impact while maximizing the visual spectacle. Before we move on, hit that like button if you're enjoying this journey through Brazil's hidden side. It helps more people discover these incredible places. For the final destination, we're heading to Brazil's northeast coast, but not where you think. Forget Copacabana and Ipanema. The Costa das Esmeraldas, or Emerald Coast in Bahia State, represents what tropical beach luxury should be: exclusive, sustainable, and genuinely spectacular. This coastline stretches for roughly 30 miles north of Salvador, but development has been carefully controlled. Instead of high-rise hotels, there are small fishing villages, coconut groves, and a handful of ultra-luxury resorts that took years to get environmental approval. I'm staying at Uxua Casa Hotel in Trancoso, arguably Brazil's most stylish beach destination. But Trancoso represents everything Uxua stands against. It's become trendy, crowded during high season, and lost some of its original charm. So instead, I'm exploring the properties, pushing deeper into undiscovered territory. The standout is a new eco-resort near Itacaré, a former cocoa port turned surf town. The resort operates entirely on solar power, sources 90% of its food from within 50 miles, and employs mostly local staff. But don't mistake eco-conscious for bare bones. Each villa has a private infinity pool, indoor-outdoor showers, and direct beach access to a stretch of sand shared with maybe 5 other people. What makes this coast special isn't just the natural beauty, though the combination of golden sand, clear water, and Atlantic rainforest is stunning. It's the variety. Surfers have consistent waves at Itacaré. Snorkelers find coral reefs at Taipus de Fora. Families want calm waters at Barra Grande. And those seeking absolute solitude can hire a local fisherman to boat them to uninhabited beaches accessible only by sea. Bahia is Brazil's African heart. Enslaved Africans were brought here in enormous numbers during the colonial period, and their cultural influence remains dominant. The music, the food, the spiritual practices, everything has deep African roots. In Salvador, we witness a candomblé ceremony, an Afro-Brazilian religion that blends Yoruba traditions with Catholicism. The experience is powerful and not something to be treated as tourist entertainment. We're invited guests at a sacred ritual. Bahian cuisine deserves its own documentary. Moqueca, a fish stew made with coconut milk, dande oil, and local fish, is the signature dish. But the region produces cacao used in some of the world's finest chocolate farm-to-table restaurants, are showcasing ingredients that were always here but rarely celebrated. Hearts of palm, jabuticaba fruit, jambu that creates a tingling sensation on your tongue. What impressed me most is how seriously the best properties take their environmental and social responsibility. One resort employs a marine biologist who monitors sea turtle nesting. Another funds education programs in nearby villages. They've realized that luxury travel doesn't mean extraction. It can mean contribution. As we film this segment, I'm struck by attention. These places are incredible and deserve recognition. But recognition brings visitors, and visitors bring change. Is there a way to share these destinations without destroying what makes them special? The resorts here believe the answer is yes. Through high-value, low-impact tourism, instead of 500 tourists paying little, have 50 paying significantly more, with that money supporting conservation and communities. It's an experiment in progress, and so far, it seems to be working. So here's what I learned traveling through Brazil's hidden worlds. This country is far more complex, diverse, and surprising than any single narrative can capture. The Pantanal taught me that South America's wildlife experiences can rival anything in Africa. Chapada Diamantina showed me landscapes I didn't know existed on this continent, Lençóis Maranhenses prove that nature still creates phenomena that seem impossible. And the Emerald Coast demonstrated that luxury and sustainability aren't opposites. They can be partners. But the most important discovery was this. These places remain largely unknown not because they're inferior to famous destinations, but because Brazil is simply too vast, too varied for any traveler to fully comprehend. Even Brazilians haven't seen most of their own country. Which of these destinations surprised you most? Drop a comment and let me know if you'd prioritize wildlife, adventure, otherworldly landscapes, or coastal luxury. And if you've been to any of these places, share your experience. I'd love to hear different perspectives. If this changed how you think about Brazil, hit that subscribe button. We're continuing this series exploring hidden luxury destinations across South America. Next episode takes us to Colombia's Lost City and the country's emerging coffee region luxury lodges. And here's my challenge to you. The next time you plan a trip, look beyond the famous spots. The world's most incredible experiences are often hiding just off the beaten path, waiting for travelers curious enough to seek them out. Brazil isn't just beaches and carnival. It's a continent disguised as a country, with enough diversity to explore for a lifetime. Thanks for watching. See you in the next adventure.